We are live on Popcorn Planet, and we've been having a fascinating conversation with John Hubbard about this case. If you haven't already, hit that join button. You can always catch the full episodes, including all of our coverage on this. But this part was getting far too interesting that I wanted to clip this because John Hubbard is here of Hubbard Investigations. If you haven't already subscribed, please go subscribe. But I love his no-nonsense, honest approach to this case and everything we've talked about. But John, we were just starting this conversation, so apologies for me starting it over. But I was asking him about all the sort of conspiracy theories. John, you're not having it. You don't think the DNA and there's no way that they faked the teeth and the bones. Your take on this, again, just for the replay's sake, is that is Brian's remains, correct?
No doubt. 100% that's Brian Laundrie's remains.
Now, the one thing we were beginning to discuss that it sounds like you are willing to accept could be possible, which is the one thing I will accept, is the fact that there could have been a deal made. And what's interesting, I can't find it right now, but the articles have, because I've just even talked about the fact that I think there could have been a deal made, now I've been quoted as a deal was made because of Popcorn Planet, so I guess I got to be careful. But again, speculation warning that I always do that the media ignores. The only thing I will really humor is this idea of, did the FBI maybe make a deal with the Laundries to say, look, we won't press charges, we'll let this die, but please find the body so we can end this and stop, spending resources. From your expertise, how likely is that? And does that happen is what I want to know.
I don't think it's likely, but it is possible. Like we've said from the beginning, the parents knew more than they refused to talk to law enforcement. In the beginning, they refused to. Matter of fact, they hired an attorney to do the speaking for them, and they didn't cooperate at all. But one thing that they did when they did talk, they said that that's where he went and that's where he's at. And the one time that they went with the FBI to help look, they took him to those quote known trails. And then when it was open to the public, the very soon as it opened on that Wednesday, I believe it was, boom, the parents were first ones out there and went right to the trail.
Right.
So, again, we don't know, did he have any type of a device that, went dead, or he just quit communicating? He could have had a burner phone that the cops didn't know about. You can't trace something you don't know that exists, So that could have been, I don't know. But they definitely had some very good information. They went right to it. First morning they were out there. And of course the water had receded. Now, apparently they found his bag first. And I don't know if they found the remains or if then law enforcement came in and found them. I don't know how that happened.
What about the fact that deals, can deals be made? They do, I imagine, right? So,
of course. I made deals all the time as a detective when realistically, the only one that has the authority to make a deal are the prosecutors, the attorney general, the state attorneys, and they don't like cops out there making deals. But the reality is, so I make deals like if you committed 20 crimes, and maybe I've got you on 4, I'll take the ones that I already have, and I'll close the rest of them out for free against you, just with your cooperation.
Right.
But it's something like this. Let's say it's a husband-wife team that's committing a crime. Well, I might let one spouse, the lesser of the two, go for free without charges if I get full cooperation from both of them. And in this incident, they had to have known by now. They hadn't heard themselves from their son in over a month. So either he had really escaped and done a good job, never told them, or he's still out there. They went out there and they found him. They found him right away. So it is possible that the cops just said, hey, they might have said to the FBI, hey, if we go out there and find him, and I'm sure there are attorneys involved in this discussion, are we going to get a pass? You're going to give us immunity for anything that we might have done. That would only be on the criminal side. They cannot waive the civil stuff. They can only make a deal with the criminal stuff.
But from a criminal standpoint, again, pointing this out, like we've talked about this in detail, but the fact that they were able to go and pinpoint that stuff in that swamp so quickly is suspicious. I got to say, whether it, again, I don't know what that means or what happened, but
it is suspicious. And the fact that they went out there without being accompanied with law enforcement.
Yeah, they went out with like this Fox News digital reporter, which to me it's like, sorry, that doesn't scream honest. So I again, and Bertolino has been leaking stuff to Cuomo and other people throughout the media. So again, not to put on the tinfoil hat, but it does seem like even Bertolino, we caught him on tape when he was talking like, well, he stumbled when someone actually asked him, could a deal be made? So again, I don't think that's not a conspiracy theory to you. I mean, that is realistically what happens, right? And we would never know because admitting that would create even worse, right?
If that happened, we will never know. They're never going to come out like they said, oh, we thought it was Brian when it was the mom, which I'm shocked that they told us that. They're not going to tell us if they brokered a deal. They're just going to let it die. It is what it is. The prosecutor doesn't have to charge anybody with anything. The cops can bring all the stuff to them that they want. The prosecutors, at the end of the day, they are the ones in charge of making the charging documents or not, period.
Yeah, but again, and people are calling out like the paint, like it's still a lot of water out there. He was not. That's 2 feet of water that he's stepping in, that he's still to find stuff in. So it's this whole excuse of, oh well, they keep saying, oh, it's 4 feet of water, so we couldn't get in there. You're saying BS. They have scuba gear. They could have gone in there.
I will say this dry bag that they're holding in their hand, that would have been floating. They would have saw that bag out there.
I can't tell if there is a hole here, but even with the hole, it wouldn't have mattered. Like, I guess unless it filled with water. But still, even that, it would have floated above and someone would have seen that.
I guess, and if there is a hole in there, you don't know if that's a hole or if that's something on it.
I can't tell. It could be a strap from the other side for all I know, too. Yeah.
It could be anything. But, if it's a hole in there, that still tells me it got torn somehow. Either he was struggling or some animal, got that in part of the deal. We may never know. We may never know how Brian Laundrie died. We may never know that.
It's highly frustrating, but at the end of the day, that is something that even you, Mr. No Nonsense, John Hubbard detective, you wouldn't completely rule out. You think it's unlikely, but you do think the people out there who are saying a deal could have been struck is something that, one, could have happened, but two, we'll never really know about. Because you're right, because if they admit to having a deal, the hysteria and outrage, why do you admit, what? No, there's so much that can happen.
How does it affect us anyway if they made a deal? The parents aren't the ones that killed them. They did prolong the cooperation, the finding of Gabby. So that's a big deal. That's the bigger deal to me. And then, who knows why, their son went out on his own. I wouldn't believe anything to come out of their mouths anymore or their attorney. So if they said he went out on his own, or if they coaxed him out, or they gave him, some bologna sandwiches and we'll come out and feed you, who knows what happened? We're not going to find that out.
But they are going to continue to defend themselves, it seems, in order to try and justify it, because as John has said, it's a small department. That might be part of the reason. They're buddy. Those might be reasons why this is happening. But again, cover up, corruption, planted skulls, all this stuff, which again, I asked our audience, 59% believe that the remains are Brian's. 41% of this audience still thinks that it's not. And again, I don't agree with that part of it. I think, again, as we were talking with John, and John, it seems you share this concern. He's a nobody. Why on earth would these departments, the FBI, put their whole everything on the line to cover up for the Laundries? While I understand people want to have their imaginations run wild, given how the media and everything has covered this case, I can't get over that hump to subscribe to that conspiracy, because it makes no sense why you'd risk everything for these Laundries. They're nobodies. This isn't some rich person on a private island.
Your closest friend, your mom and dad, might lie for you. But you're not going to get the whole neighborhood to lie for you. It's not going to happen.
Right, especially the FBI, the cops, the whole department.
Not going to happen. Not happening.
So that one's a big jump, but it does seem like we can say, well, a deal could have been struck. Again, speculation. A deal could have been struck. Media, don't quote me. It is a complete speculation, but it's not impossible. And in your experience, yes, deals are often and can be made, and you never reveal that those are made. Or I guess, does that happen sometimes? Can deals be, well, we made a deal for this for one count to the? Isn't some of that sometimes shared publicly?
I'm trying to think if I ever shared any of those publicly. It's not, the public doesn't want to hear that, so. That's not something that would benefit law enforcement by disclosing. So I never disclosed that. My agency always knew if I made a deal. If I caught a guy that, stole 10 cars and I charged him with 2 and closed out the other 8 that I couldn't prove without his admission, what do they care?
Who would need to approve such a deal in this case? Let's imagine it's whoever made that deal. And would that have been through the Northport police or that would have been with the FBI, correct?
The FBI's case. It's not Northport's. It's the FBI's case. Northport, it'd be the FBI's attorney general would have had to have approved that deal.
Now, and Northport would know a deal was made, correct?
I don't know. I don't know because I don't know how much. I don't see the FBI in that picture in front of you. I don't know how much they trust them. So I'll tell you this. So many times I did a lot of big cases. I did 8 racketeering cases, RICOs. That's a big deal. And I was only a little county cop. But obviously they're statewide deals. If I believed, and I found corrupt cops along the way, I would stop dealing with them and not sharing any more information with them until I took all the kingpins down and let them find out about it in the media, the paper, whatever else. Sometimes you can't trust some of these the control that some of these departments have. So you just can't share information with them. So that's just the way it works. So I'm not saying that the FBI shares everything with them. I'm sure they don't. Look at what little bit they did have. Hey, just keep an eye on the guy until we find her body. Oh, okay, no problem. How'd that work?
Oh, we thought it was his mom.
Yeah, I know. Thought it was his mom. I know.
And when would they have realized that too? So it's also frustrating.
Oh, and the car got away too. Yeah. Yeah, we didn't have a tracking device on that, and we didn't have any eyes on the actual house, I don't know how he got up. Maybe it was a chitty chitty bang bang car and just flew out of there. I don't know. Such BS.
Oh, it's so sad. I don't mean to laugh about it, but it's so sad and frustrating. And yeah. So
I don't think the bottom line is I doubt the FBI shared their whole case file with Northport. They have effed up what little bit they did have.
Janine,
why would you share anything else?
Janine here is asking you why is a deal unlikely to you? And hearing this, I'm almost like it feels more and more likely to sort of end all this because they had no idea what they were doing. Why, in your mind, is it unlikely that a deal was struck?
Because of how the manpower that was out already and looking for this guy. It's just, why would you if you had something like that? And you got to realize the FBI at the time, they didn't believe that Brian was in that preserve. If they did, the search would have not stopped. So there came a point in their search where they stopped searching because they didn't believe he was out there, dead or alive.
Right.
Because even if he's dead, that's just as important to find. You notice they went looking for Gabby and they thought she was dead. They put out a big mass hunt for her. It's just not likely that you make these kind of, especially this one's got a lot of publicity nationwide.
Yep.
You look like fools. And like I said, once the Brian showed up dead, that tells me that they're probably not going, and in the manner that he died, unless they can prove that it was self-inflicted, which I don't know if they can or not. Again, I don't know what they have, but so they, I don't know if it's just not likely that you make these kind of deals with people. That's not something they go around doing.
Well, Inverted Earth, send over, Chad. Thank you for having this great guest on. I couldn't agree more. Hubbard Investigations is where you can find John Hubbard to get more of his takes. He's a real private investigator out there working, so we're always grateful that he's gracious enough to give us his time here. So go give him a subscribe if you haven't already. We managed to get him over that line. I'm so proud of you guys, so keep watching and supporting our man John so he can come back and give us his insight because I love his insight on this stuff. John, sir, always a pleasure to have you here. Don't go anywhere yet. Just clipping this for YouTube because this was a great one. What do you guys think? Regardless, hit that subscribe, hit the bell for all alerts, smash that like button, and leave a comment down below on your theories. Do you believe this theory that it's a deal might have been placed, or do you believe even the crazier theories? Be respectful, but tell us down below what you think. If you're watching live, don't go anywhere. We are not done. We got more to talk about as we let John go, but also talk about Tiger King 2, and Carol Baskins is suing them? Oh my gosh, she never ends, does she?